Good evening, BookTube. Tonight, I would like to review Dominion by C.J. Sansom. Now, C.J. Sansom is more well known around BookTube for his Shardlake series, taking place in the 1500s. So, this is different. This is different. This is an alternate history novel of what would happen if Germany won the Second World War. If you liked Robert Harris's Fatherland and Len Deighton's SSGB, you'll probably like Dominion as well. Now I'm going to read the blurb to you so I don't have to dive too far deep into the plot. So let's read. 1952. 12 years have passed since Churchill lost to the appeasers and Britain surrendered to Nazi Germany. The global economy strains under the weight of the long German war against Russia, still raging in the East. The British people find themselves subject to increasingly authoritarian rule, the press, radio, and television tightly controlled. The British Jews facing even greater constraints. But Churchill's resistance soldiers on. As defiance grows, whispers circulate of a secret that could forever alter the balance of the global struggle. The keeper of that secret? Frank Muncaster, a scientist who languishes in a Birmingham mental hospital. David Fitzgerald, a civil servant, spy for the resistance and university friend of Frank's, is given the mission to rescue Frank and get him out of the country. Hard on his heels is the Gestapo agent Günther Hoff, and a brilliant, implacable hunter of men, who soon has Frank as well as David's innocent wife Sarah directly in his sights. So, David Fitzgerald has to rescue his friend Frank, from a mental institution because he holds some kind of secret that could shift the balance of power in the world. So it sounds like a very typical thriller. So when I looked, there's actually a map here, although it's black and white, and it's hard to tell the political boundaries of everything, the redrawn political borders. The map of the world, it looks very similar to Robert Harris's Fatherland map. Very similar. And so it's important to point out the backstory of this book. In addition to this, the setting of the book, rather, in addition to the story, which I just explained to you. So, in 1940, a man named Edward Wood, Earl of Halifax, becomes Prime Minister instead of Winston Churchill, replacing Neville Chamberlain as Prime Minister. He subsequently surrenders to the Germans so that the United Kingdom becomes you could call it a satellite state, a puppet state, a crypto-fascist regime, a Vichy Britain. Call it whatever you want. They're independent, but they must bend to the will of they must do the bidding of Nazi Germany, but they maintain their independence. Now, what C.J. Sansom is saying here, because if I understand, Lord Halifax was one of those people who was very pro-appeasement with Neville Chamberlain and so on. If I'm not, what I'm what I think C.J. Sansom is trying to say is appeasement is not in itself is not fascism, but it's the road to fascism. The more you make excuses for fascists, the more you defend what they do, you're on the path to becoming a fascist yourself. And as of 1952 in the book, the prime minister is a man named Lord Beaverbrook, the collaborationist prime minister. In real life, he was a Canadian media mogul. Interesting. So, and by the way, at the time of publication of the book, there was a lot of controversy because C.J. Sansom dropped a lot of names from history and named them all as collaborators should Germany have won the Second World War. And so there was Enoch Powell, there was Lord Beaverbrook, of course, and there was the SNP, the Scottish National Party. All of them are in the book are portrayed as collaborators. So some of the descendants of the historic figures that he name dropped in the book were very, very unhappy with C.J. Sansom. Although I'm more forgiving because this is fiction. This is an alternate history. And the truth is, I don't know. Under different circumstances, would I be a very different person from what I am today? Would I be a reprehensible monster if world history had turned out differently? I probably wouldn't have been born because I'm biracial. But that aside, I can forgive C.J. Sansom for that. Now, the book is a little bit of a slow burn, but that's okay. There's a lot of backstory and setup before the actual plot begins moving along, so it's a very, very, very slow burn. It's near the end where the action picks up faster. I like that. So all the backstory helps with world building and trying to convey the message. So the story is more of an excuse to present to you this world. To present to you this world that C.J. Sansom has built. And again, it's very similar to Robert Harris's Fatherland or Len Deighton's SSGB. My main gripe with the book is, so the book was very well thought out. At the end, he explains all the reasonings for the decisions he made into his thought processes into building this world. The author, C.J. Sansom, does that. At the end, there's a long, dragged-out description. And so the only problem, though, with the entire book is the ending. I won't give it away, but it seemed to be that the plot motivator, in the ultimate sense, didn't mean anything. So it all came to nothing. If that's a fair way of explaining it. But the plot itself, from the beginning to end, was very fascinating, was very exciting. The latter part, that is. I approve of it. There's a section in the book near the end during the smog of 1952, the London smog of 1952. That was a main point. You can see the police officer is standing in the smog. The London smog of 1952. Look that up. So, this was a very grim but fascinating world to explore. It's just the ending came to nothing. The main villain is a Gestapo agent named Günther Hoth, but his assistant, his friend, the fascist police officer Syme, he's one of my favorite book villains. He is described very cartoonishly, mustache twirling evil genius, but he's like he's a really good hunter and tracker of men, and yeah, he's very colorfully. He's very the description of him is very cartoon-like, but I like it. He's a very good. He's a very well written villain, I would say, despite how cartoonish he is. I actually liked it. The villain Syme, the collaborationist police officer who works with Gunter Hoth. So, I apologize if I repeat myself. I have a bad habit of that. How would I rate Dominion by C.J. Sansom? 9 out of... No. That's too generous. 8 out of 10. It loses 2 marks for the really, really bad ending. But I want to know what you think. Have you read Dominion by C.J. Sansom? Did you think he was fair at portraying how people's lives would have changed, and or the decisions where they would be in life had things gone differently in 1940 in the UK? Let me know. Okay, thanks for listening.